Q. QAnon is a conspiracy theory that's been getting a lot of traction recently. It basically says that the Hollywood elite have all the power, money, satanic influence that there is to have in America, and gotta say, little disappointed. Dad, why didn't you cut me in on this, you know? But I can't really define it in better terms than the Q people themselves can, so here you go.
Have you ever wondered why we go to war? Or why you never seem to be able to get out of debt? Why there is poverty, division, and crime? What if I told you there was a reason for it all? What if I told you it was done on purpose?
Now, I personally can't think of anything that would cause problems like that myself. But according to the Q people, it's definitely a group of satanic worshippers who are definitely going to be caught next month. Now, like, this is not just going to be a dunk fest. I mean, it could be, it could be. But it's not going to be, because I know that this conspiracy theory really targets people who actually want to do good, but maybe aren't being given the correct information on how to do that good and are maybe susceptible to this kind of manipulation. So I'm going to be trying to give some background on Q, talking about who runs the show here, the kinds of messages that you end up getting into, because this stuff it gets more extreme as you go into it. It does not seem that you don't jump right into the Satanism part. It isn't really, it's like Scientology, you start out with like the little hand things and it like reads your emotions, and before you know it, you're thousands of dollars deep talking about aliens jumping out of your blood. And that's kind of the progression that you see here. Alright, let's get right down to it. So, who is Q? Q is a poster on the boards 4chan, 8chan, and then later 8kun, who disseminates information in these packages that they call drops. Now, these drops have a few things in common. A lot of them love Daddy Donald. They're very, very vague. They have a sort of poetry quality to them, but they don't rhyme, which is unfortunate. And you're encouraged to interpret them as you will, which has an interesting effect, because any prediction made by a Q drop is not only fully interpreted, but if something doesn't come to fruition, you can always just say, well, that interpretation was false. Now, Q claims to be a all-knowing government official. Q is actually a businessman and living human piece of shit known as Jim Watkins. Jim Watkins owned 8chan when the Christchurch shooting happened. The Christchurch shooter was heavily influenced by the board. He was radicalized by the board, and he posted his manifesto to the board. The programmer and founder of 8chan, Patrick Brennan, left the site at this time. He said, "This is disgusting, I want no part in it." Jim Watkins did not care. He did not care that the site was used to radicalize people. He did not care that the manifesto was posted, and he took no steps whatsoever to prevent anything like it from happening again. And then it did happen again. So both the Dayton and El Paso shooters were radicalized and posted manifestos to 8chan. The day after these consecutive shootings, 8chan was forced off of the ClearNet, Not because Watkins pulled the website, but because they lost the ability to protect themselves from basically every decent person trying to keep the website offline. And all three of these shooters, they weren't radicalized in spite of what was on the website. They were radicalized because of what is on the website. Now you can go today to 8kun, which is the successor of 8chan that Watkins managed to get up after trying for quite a long time to find a provider that would allow him to host his website. You can see that they are like one of the biggest threads right now on 8kun is restoring Nazi propaganda. These three shooters are today on 8kun celebrated as like heroes. Like they have tribute threads and they have bail funds for other shooters, and it's a radicalization machine, and this is the only place that Q posts. Now, 8chan went down, and when 8chan went down, and before 8kun came back almost 100 days later, Q did not post anywhere. Q only posted when 8kun came back up. These drops in general get distributed through these aggregators, the most popular of which until recently was qmap.pub. QMAP has since gone offline. Probably because Jim Watkins accidentally hosted it on the same IP address as 8kun. Both of them were being provided through Vanwa, and Vanwa has ties to NT Tech. NT Tech is another company that Jim Watkins owns. And here's where it gets really fucked up. So 8chan, 8chan has its problems, but you can always kind of make the argument that, oh, it's the users, it's the users posting this content, it's not the website. Jim Watkins cannot make this argument for his company, NT Technology, and its subsidiary, Is It Wet Yet, who hosted, and I'm not kidding, hundreds of domain names that were literally hosting child pornography. And I don't have enough lung power to say this unaided. So,
Yikes.
So in October, Brennan, being disgusted by Watkins' behavior, made a mean tweet. In response, Watkins used his police connections to get an arrest warrant made out for Brennan. Brennan has brittle bones disease, and if he were arrested, he would likely have been killed. Thankfully, he escaped the Philippines just in the nick of time, but this is the kind of person that's disseminating this information. They're a really, really fucking bad person. In the Q-verse, there's a lot of focus on building these proofs, which they're like, we're building proofs that are going to be unassailable. But the thing is that the first 60 drops are verifiably untrue. They included specific events and specific dates. I'll link to them below, but these events just did not happen. After drop 60 approximately, they began getting more vague and prophetic, which is a really easy way. You can make very, very vague claims about what might happen, and then if some of them are true, you might look very legitimate. You know, saying that something big is going to happen is not an indicator that a source is a good source of information. Like, you're taking one source of information from an anonymous board who posts in riddles and poems as a truth teller. Like, what? And if you still have doubts about this, I have a question for you. What kind of decent person who knows about horrible crimes being committed against children would only release information in the form of, like, really, really bad poetry? Why wouldn't they just say who it is directly outright? And, you know, we could just use the guillotine and do the rest. The answer is they don't want one interpretation. They want to keep it as vague as possible so that no matter what happens, it ends up fitting into some pattern. What we're left with is a prophet who appears wherever Jim Watkins stands to make the most money, who only communicates through boards that are modern-day havens of actual real Nazis, pedophiles, and shooters, who only speaks in poems. I have a lot more to say on this topic, and I'm going to go a lot more into the specific theories that are debunked. That one will be more of a dunk fest, just because there's no polite, cordial way to talk about it. But yeah, I hope to see you guys then. Thanks for watching till the end of the video. I really enjoyed making this one. I think I'm getting a little bit better at this. If you liked it, you can follow me on Instagram or subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. I don't have a custom URL yet because I've only got 4 followers, but you know, we'll get there. Alright, see you next time.